Ohio. Katowice, the city in the south of Poland in the top Silesia, the capital of the Silesian voivodeship. It is based in the 19th century. I received the status of the city in 1865, according to the decision of the King of Prussia William I. As of 2004, the population of Katowice makes 321,163 persons, and all in agglomeration there live Kart people. Katowice, the center of science, culture, the industry, business, trade and transport in the top Silesia and the southern part of Poland, and also the main town in the Verkhnevsky industrial region.
Katowice is within its city area with the population in 2,774,460 people according to Eurostat, and also a part of wider Silesian capital region with the population of Kart people according to the European Network of Observation of Spatial Planning.
Near Katowice, in the top Silesia, ethnic Silesiets with the earliest documented history live.
Originally it coped the Polish Silesian dynasty Piastov before her suppression in 1370 with the death of the King Casimir III.
The settlement of the area surrounding Katowice belongs to the end of the 12th century. Since 1138 Kastolina of Bytom covered territories where now there is Katowice. In 1177 lands were legally transferred by the Duke Casimir II Provednik to his nephew Mieszko I Tangelfit. It justified their inclusion in medieval Silesian provinces. At a turn of the 14th century, new villages under names to Bugasica, Ligota, Shopanica and Podlesi, and also the village dome mentioned in 1299 in the document issued by the Duke Casimir from Bytom were created.
Since 1327 the region was in structure of the Kingdom of Bohemia. In the historical documents dated 1468 there was a link to the settlement Podlesi, which is now one of urban areas, whereas the village of Katowice
is for the first time mentioned in 1598.
Historians believe that Katowice was founded on the right river bank of Rava by Andrei from Bogutsic approximately in 1580.
In 1742 the First Silesian War transferred the top Silesia, including Katowice, to Prussia. Subsequently, from the second half of the 18th century, many German or Prussian handicraftsmen, dealers and artists began to lodge in the region, which in the last hundreds of years was inhabited by Poles. At the same time, Silesia experienced inflow of the first Jewish settlers. In the first half of the 19th century, intensive industrialization turned local mills and farms into industrial steel foundries, mines, foundry and craft workshops. It also promoted creation of the companies and rapid growth of the city. At the same time, Katowice connected to a railway system by the first train, which arrived to the main station in 1847. Katowice received the status of the city in 1865 in the Prussian province of Silesia. The city prospered because of big mineral, especially coal, fields in nearby mountains.
Extensive growth of the cities and welfare depended on coal and steel industry, which began during the Industrial Revolution.
In the city, Germans, Silesiets, Jews and Poles lived in the basic. In 1884, 36 Jewish Zionist delegates who formed the movement Havavit Zion met here. Loving Zion, Palestinophila. Earlier, the part of the region of Bekton in 1873 became the capital of the new region of Katowice. On April 1, 1899, the city was separated from the area, having become the independent city. According to the Treaty of Versailles after World War I, the plebiscite of the top Silesia was organized by the League of Nations. The population voted 22774 persons to remain as a part of Germany. However, 3,900 people voted for Poland. Despite a majority of votes, the city it was attached to Poland.
After the Silesian Revolt of 1919-1921 of Katowice became a part of the Second Polish Republic with some autonomy for the Silesian Parliament as the constituency and Council of the Silesian Voivodeship as executive body.
At early stages of World War II, from Katowice in fact refused, as the Polish army had to be located around Krakow. When Westerplatte firing was recognized on September 1, 1939 as the first involved in World War II, Hitler actually ordered a silent sabotage mission one day earlier, dressing the officers of CC as Polish soldiers. Under Nazi occupation, many historical and cult city monuments, first of all the Great Katowice Synagogue, which was burned to the basis on September 4, 1939, were destroyed. It was followed by change of names of streets and introduction of strict rules. Besides, use of Polish in public conversations was forbidden.
The German administration is also notorious for the organization of public executions of civilians, until the middle of 1941.
A sheep part of the Polish and Jewish population was expelled. During the German occupation at the Ferrum plant in the city of Katowice, rockets were made for Wehrmacht, the underground group of the Polish communists, one of participants of which was the Soviet Frontier Guard Senior Lieutenant S5 Kozelenkov, acted in the city. In January 1945, Katowice was freed by the Red Army from the German occupation.
The post-war period Katowice was characterized by time of development of the heavy industry in the Verknewski region that helped the city to restore the status of industrially developed Polish city and a large administrative center.
As the city developed quickly, the 1950th years marked significant increase in population and inflow of migrants from east border areas, so-called Kresy. The city region began to extend quickly due to inclusion of the neighboring communes and counties. From March 7, 1953 to December 10, 1956, Katowice was named by Stalingrad in honor of the leader of the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin. This change was made by the resolution of the State Council. In 1956, the former name, after numerous protests, is returned.
At introduction of martial law in December 1981 in Katowice, there were large performances of labor union solidarity, strikes on the Wijk mine and at iron and steel works of Wood of Katowice, suppressed by military force.
In 1990, last first democratic local elections marked the new period in the history of the city.
The economy of Katowice turned from the center of the heavy industry into one of the most attractive investment platforms for branches of modern economy in Central Europe.
Recently, effective infrastructure of the city, rapid progress in the general development and increase in office space made Katowice the popular venue of business. The Katowice Exhibition Center will organize fairs or exhibitions and attracts investors from around the world. Katowice, the central city of Verknewskiego of the industrial region and the main town of Verknewski Conurbation. In 1999 became Katowice the center of the Silesian voivodeship. In 1975-1998 was the center of the Katowice voivodeship. Katowice, the center of coal and metallurgical industry. The climate is moderately continental. Average temperature is +8.2 C. -1.5 C in January and to +18 C in July. The average annual amount of precipitation makes 608.5. Characteristic western light breezes blow with a speed about 2 m/s. Katowice, one of the largest transport hubs of Poland. A distance of 30 km from the city there is an international airport of Katowice. In the city the railway station of Katowice, serving more than 12 million people annually, is located. Besides, there are 14 other railway stations and platforms, in particular, important stations of Katowice Zawodzie and Katowice Ligoda. In the city of 10 tram lines which are logging in Silesian trams, which covers 13 cities of the Silesian voivodeship. In the territory of the city functions more than 100 routes of buses of city and long-distance communication. Katowice is located on the Katowice Height uplands, a part of the Silesian Mountains, an east part of the Top Silesia, in the south of Poland, approximately in 50 km to the north from Silesian Beskidzów. A part of Carpathians Mountains, and approximately in 100 km to the southeast from the Sudeten Mountains, in the central part of the Verkhnevsky coal basin. His city lies on a watershed of the basins of Vistula and Oder. Across his territory several rivers flow, of which Rava, Vrinitsa is in flow, and Kladnitsa in flow of Oder, and also several smaller water currents are main. Katowice, city community in the Silesian voivodeship in the southwest of Poland. It is the central region Silesian, the metropolis, the megalopolis with the population in 2 million people. It borders on the cities of Chorzów, Tuszemianowice Silesko, Sosnowiec, Mysłowice, Liadzina, Tychy, Mykolaiv, Orów-Śląsk and Shaladu. Within 600 km from Katowice there are capitals of 6 countries: Berlin, Vienna, Prague, Bratislava, Budapest and Warsaw. Now in the city of Katowice Poles and ethnic Silesiets and also several minorities of Germans, Czechs and Morav live in the basic. It is the region is religious also culturally various. For many years this variety strongly affected local architecture, such as apartment house and the state buildings. The recent Polish census showed that Silesiets are the largest ethnic minority in Poland, and Germans take the second place in the list. Both of these minorities generally live in the Silesian region. Therefore it is the most multicultural province of Poland. Before World War II of Katowice Poles and Germans generally inhabited. The Silesian demographic census of 1905 showed that Germans make nearly 75% of the total number of the population. After the defeat of Germany in 1945, the German majority was forced to run. Architecture. Katowice wasn't under construction as the medieval town. The downtown began to be formed in the middle of the 19th century when it was a part of the Kingdom of Prussia and had the ethnic German majority. Buildings of the time are issued in eclectic style, generally by the Renaissance with Baroque elements. By the end of the 19th century, the center was called Small Paris, because of existence of apartment houses in the Parisian style. Examples of modernism, especially international style and the inspired architecture of Bauhaus, still coexist with modern office buildings in the central part of Katowice. In the 1950th, the 1980th years in internal suburbs many socialist apartment houses were constructed.
The known examples of this period include a multipurpose complex of the arena under the name Spodek and parts of the region of Katowice.
Katowice, one of the few cities of Poland where there are almost all architectural styles. For example, the market square in Katowice, Polish Rynek Katowice, is surrounded the huge majority of the buildings and constructions representing such styles as neoclassicism, modernism, socialist realism. In some apartments there are neo-Gothic elements which are an outstanding example of this kind in Central and Eastern Europe. Outlines of streets, especially in old internal areas, very much remind that we're in Paris. Representative boulevards and promenades were created, despite the strong industrial nature of the city. They, however, generally decorated the downtown, but not the external suburb of working class. Many old buildings were demolished in the 1950th years to make room for modern blocks.
Economy.
Katowice, the large coal mining and steel making center.
He has several coal mines.
The Uik mine, the Mysłów mine, the Wexerek mine, the Murki mine, the Staszek mine.
Organized in labor unions, the Katowice Coal Company.
2 steel works. Huta Baldon, Huta Ferrum. And 1 foundry shop of non-ferrous metals. Huta Metali Niezlic Shopiness. Katowice, the large trade and exhibition center. Every year at the Katowice International Fair and in Spodek tens of international trade fairs are held. Katowice is the second largest business center in Poland, after the Warsaw Business Center. Skyscrapers stand along streets of Chorzów, Korfantygo and Rodzenski. The newest office buildings, Chorzowska 50, a skyscraper Altis and towers of Silesia. Katowice is a resident of the Katowice Special Economic Zone. The Katowice Special Aeroeconomia. Unemployment rate is one of the lowest in Poland, -2%. 2008. The city is still characterized by force of working class and attracts many people from the neighboring cities and the countries. Education. The Silesian University in Katowice, Faculty of the Right and Management. Katowice, large scientific center. In the city there are more than 20 higher education institutions with the total number of students overcard among them. The Silesian University in Katowice. The Economic University in Katowice. Silesian Medical University. Silesian Technological University. University of Social Psychology and Humanities. Musical Academy of Karol Szymanowski. Also are available about 80 high schools, 35 gymnasiums, 55 elementary schools, about 50 libraries including Silesian Library. Events and sites. On May 28, the annual holiday Kashanki. One of city sites, the big sports Spodek complex. On May 14, 2014, the monument to the Soviet soldiers who died during World War II is dismantled. Annually in Katowice, Katowice World Cup in cybersports disciplines is held.
Dota 2, Counter-Strike.
Global Offensive, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, StarCraft 2, Overwatch and League of Legends.
Also far.
Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories.
All of good mood and good luck.